Alright everyone, before we jump into everything today, let me start by saying sorry that this video is coming out so late. I know a lot of you wait for this content regularly and it's frustrating when it doesn't arrive on time. Believe me, no one's more frustrated than I am right now. We had everything recorded and ready earlier in the day, but of course technical issues decided to show up and ruin the flow. Total chaos here at Celtic AM HQ. It feels like one of those days where everything that could go wrong did, but here we are. If you're watching this now, it means we managed to get everything sorted and uploaded eventually, even if it took way longer than expected. So hopefully now I can calm down a bit, settle in, and take you through everything we've got lined up today. There's a lot to talk about, but before we get into transfers and Champions League chatter, I've got to take a moment to reflect on something far more important. We got some very sad news recently. Heartbreaking news actually. Another Lisbon Lion has passed away. This time it's our former goalkeeper John Fallon, who left us at the age of 84. It's another tough blow for the Celtic family. Coming so soon after the recent loss of John Clark, John Fallon might not be a name that every modern fan immediately thinks of when they hear about the Lisbon Lions, especially since he didn't actually play in that iconic match in Portugal. But he was still right there, a part of that historic squad. He was on the bench in Lisbon, the only substitute listed for Celtic that night. Just think about that for a second, only one substitute. That's how football worked back then. There weren't tactical substitutions like we see today. If a player got injured, maybe, just maybe, the one sub might be used, but that was it. You had to play through knocks and pain. If someone went down and couldn't continue, the team just had to finish the game a man down. Madness when you compare it to modern football, where teams can use 5 substitutes and rotate constantly, but back then that was the norm. So even though John Fallon didn't step on the pitch that legendary night in May 1967, he was still a Lisbon Lion. He was part of that journey, that campaign, that triumph. And before Ronnie Simpson came along and made the number 1 shirt his own, Fallon had already built up a solid career at Celtic. He made over 180 appearances for the club. That's not a small number. That's a significant contribution. He was between the sticks during crucial years, helping lay the foundation for what would become the most iconic period in the club's history. And while Simpson rightfully gets much of the spotlight for being the keeper who lifted the European Cup, Fallon's role should never be forgotten. Every great team needs more than just the 11 who start the final. It takes a squad, a group of men pushing each other, supporting each other, driving the standards. Fallon was very much part of that. And it wasn't just what he did on the field that made John Fallon such a respected figure among Celtic supporters. After retiring from playing, he remained a constant presence around the club. Many of you watching now probably saw him at matches. Maybe you bumped into him at Celtic Park or spotted him away from home, always with time for a chat, a photo, a handshake. He never drifted away from the Celtic community. In fact, he leaned into it. He supported the causes, gave his time to the club's foundation, and worked closely with charities like the Kano Foundation, who also posted touching tributes when the news of his passing broke. That speaks volumes. That tells you everything you need to know about the man. He wasn't just a footballer. He was a Celtic man through and through. And when someone like that passes, the entire Celtic family feels it. The timing makes it feel even heavier. We're just about a month removed from the loss of John Clark, another hero from that generation, and now we're preparing for Flag Day next weekend. That's traditionally a celebratory day, a symbolic kickoff to the new season where we reflect on the past and look ahead to the future. But now it feels like the tone will be a little more somber, and rightfully so. You would hope, and I'm pretty sure the club will do this, that there will be some sort of tribute to the Lisbon Lions during the ceremony. Maybe something special for both Johns, Clark and Fallon, to honor their lives, their contributions, and what they meant to Celtic. It's moments like these when we're reminded of how deep the club's history runs. These men weren't just names in the record books, they were legends. Living, breathing symbols of everything Celtic stands for. Now stepping away from that for a moment, though still very much feeling it. Let's talk a bit about what's happening off the pitch. We've got some updates to get into, including transfers, rumors, and even a little bit of Champions League qualification talk. Starting with something that sparked quite a few conversations in the last few days, Jeffrey Schlub. Yes, remember him. It looks like he's in talks to join Norwich City. This was reported by Pinkin, which for those unfamiliar is probably the most trusted source when it comes to Norwich City coverage. It used to be a traditional paper, but now operates purely online. According to them, Schlub is a free agent after leaving Crystal Palace at the end of last season, and Norwich are looking to snap him up. Now Celtic fans will remember that Schlub had a brief spell with us. He arrived on loan, played a handful of games, and to be fair, started off quite brightly. I still remember that performance in Munich, where he did a fantastic job containing Michael Olise. For a few weeks he really looked like he could be a solid option, but as time went on his influence waned a bit, and with Greg Taylor returning to the fold it became clear that Schlub wasn't going to be a permanent solution. I think most fans were happy to see Taylor reclaim that left-back spot, especially considering how he finished the season. Sure, the Scottish Cup final didn't go exactly how he'd have wanted, but overall those final weeks were strong for him. So now Schlub moves unlikely to Norwich, and we wish him the best. Seemed like a good guy, gave what he had, and I'm sure he'd be welcome back at Celtic Park anytime as a guest. On the topic of Norwich City, there was another story doing the rounds, and this one had all the makings of a 2025 rumor mill classic. You might have seen a photo circulating online of Hyjin Yang wearing a Norwich City kit supposedly during some sort of unveiling. This image was shared by a Korean football fan account. Not an official page, mind you, but a fan-run one that follows the Korean national team. The guy behind it, Joel Kim, posted the image claiming it came from a source. But here's where it gets interesting. The photo was quickly deleted and Kim posted a public apology, saying he jumped the gun, got excited, and failed to properly verify where the image came from. Turns out it wasn't real, just a case of someone being a bit too eager and falling for what looks like an AI-generated image. And honestly, who can blame him? These AI images are getting scarily convincing. If you're not paying close attention, or even if you are, it's easy to get fooled. But yeah, for now Yang is not signing with Norwich. There was some real interest reported last week, so it's not completely out of nowhere, but as of right now there's nothing concrete, just another case of modern tech getting ahead of real news. Let this be a lesson: always double check your sources. And don't believe everything you see on social media, especially in the age of AI. Now let's have a wee chat about the Champions League situation, which I know is on a lot of people's minds. The qualifiers are underway, and while we're not involved just yet, things are starting to take shape in terms of who we might face in the playoff round. So let me try to break this down as simply as I can, because I know these qualification structures can be a bit of a puzzle. Last night we saw Ferencváros Copenhagen and Red Star Belgrade all win their first legs, and based on those performances, they look just about nailed on to progress to the next round. What's important to note here is that if they do go through, they'll be seated in the playoff draw, just like we are, which means we won't be drawn against them. And that also applies to the teams they face in the next round. So already, we can start narrowing down the potential opponents for that all-important playoff. Now the draw for the playoff round actually takes place before the third qualifying round has even been played, which means UEFA will be drawing it based on assumptions, assuming who'll go through based on seeding. So while nothing's officially confirmed, if we look at how things are likely to unfold, we can already predict with a decent amount of confidence who we might get. Right now I've got a list of 12 potential opponents. Among them there's Maccabi Tel Aviv or Pafos Dinamo Batumi or Slovan Bratislava, and then the Finnish side cups, who are also in the mix. We've also got Basel, who look like they're cruising through and are unseeded, and Sturm Graz as well. Now I don't know why, but I've got this nagging feeling we're going to get Basel. It's just one of those gut things. Maybe it's fate, maybe it's dread, who knows? And listen, if it is Basel, that could be a tricky tie. They're not what they once were, sure, but they're still experienced in Europe, and we've had some rough playoff experiences before. If I wanted to do a bit of homework on them ahead of time, maybe I'd even use a VPN, switch over to a Swiss server, and watch some of their recent games online. That's the kind of scouting that's possible these days with tech. But yeah, for now it's just speculation. We'll see what the draw says. Fingers crossed we get a team we can handle and avoid another early Champions League disaster. Because let's be honest, the last few campaigns have not exactly gone smoothly. Anyway, moving on to the latest on the transfer front, and there's a name that popped up yesterday that's got a few fans buzzing: Jacob Riem. He's a Danish under-21 international currently playing for Go Ahead Eagles in the Netherlands. Word is that Celtic made a bid for him earlier this month, around £1.5 million, but the Dutch club rejected it. Their sporting director, who has the very Dutch name of Jan Willem Van Dop, was quoted in the local media saying that the bid came from a foreign club and that they were miles apart in valuation. The club reportedly won around £5 million for him, which is quite a bit more than what we offered. Classic Celtic, right? It's a familiar story we spot A talent early, we try to play hardball and then either someone else swoops in with the proper bid, or the selling club simply refuses to negotiate and we miss out. It's frustrating because we clearly have money to spend. The club is in a strong financial position, but when it comes to paying that bit extra to actually secure quality, we seem to freeze. And Briam is a quality player. He scored 10 goals last season in the Eredivisie, which is no mean feat, especially considering he was playing for a smaller side like Go Ahead Eagles. They actually finished 7th, which was a great campaign for them. But still, this lad wasn't just a passenger. He contributed massively. The thing that's interesting about him is his positioning. Some reports have him listed as a right-sided attacker, but if you actually watch him play, and I've watched a few clips, he looks a lot more central to me. He breaks through the middle, gets into goal-scoring positions from midfield, and looks like someone who could really add something dynamic to our squad. Which then leads to another question. If he's primarily a central player, does that mean Celtic are planning for life without one of our current midfielders? Is there a possible outgoing on the cards? It's all speculation at this point, but you can't help but connect the dots. So where do we stand with this Briam situation? Honestly, it's hard to say. That initial bid was made 3 weeks ago and we haven't heard much since. It could be that we've moved on to other targets, or it could be that we're waiting to see if Go Ahead Eagles blink. Maybe we're planning to go back in with a higher offer. But if we really want the player, and all indications suggest he'd be a fantastic addition, then why not just meet the asking price? £5 million is not some outrageous fee. In modern football, especially for a club like Celtic, it's not like we're being asked to break the bank. Just pay what he's worth and bring him in. It's the kind of move that could pay off massively both on the pitch and financially down the line, if he develops further. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. It's one of those stories that could either ramp up quickly or fade away into another. What could have been? And to round things off today, there's just a quick note on a couple of our younger players who might be on the move. It looks like Partick Thistle are showing interest in Josh Clark, our young goalkeeper. And they're also keeping tabs on Kyle Ure. These are 2 lads with potential in a loan move or even a permanent deal at a decent level like the Championship. Could do them a world of good. Game time experience, responsibility, that's how you grow as a player. And sometimes you need to step out of the Celtic bubble to really develop. So that's the current state of play. Transfers bubbling under the surface, Champions League draws lurking around the corner, and the emotional weight of losing another club legend still fresh in our minds. Football is relentless like that. One moment you're celebrating history, the next you're scrambling to prepare for the future. But that's what makes being a Celtic fan so special. The highs, the lows, the memories, the expectations. It's never just a game. It's identity. It's community. And above all, it's family. We mourn the loss of John Fallon not just because he was a former player, but because he was one of us. He bled green and white. He stood for something. And in a world of constant change, those values are more important than ever. With that, I'll wrap things up for today. There's still loads to be sorted this window, and as always, I'll be here bringing you all the latest as it happens. Thanks for sticking with me even when the uploads come a bit later than planned. Life happens, tech fails, but the love for this club keeps going. Until next time. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. There's a fresh buzz brewing in the East End, and it's got Hoops fans wondering if another gem is about to land at Parkhead. Word on the street is that Flavio Ninho, the promising young left-back, has made the jump from Belgium to Glasgow, and not just for the weather. The 21-year-old Portuguese defender, previously on the books at Sporting CP and more recently playing in the Belgian League, is said to be closing in on a move to Celtic. While nothing has been confirmed by the club just yet, sources close to the player suggest the deal is all but done. A move of this kind fits the profile we've seen Celtic pursue in recent years: young, technically gifted talent with room to grow and a hunger to prove themselves on a bigger stage. Nazinho, often described as a modern fullback with pace to burn and a knack for timing his tackles, could be a strong addition to Brendan Rodgers' backline as the squad looks to reinforce for both domestic and European campaigns. It's understood Nazinho has already arrived in Glasgow, with a medical rumor to have taken place earlier this week. Though there's been no official unveiling, murmurs from Lennox Down suggest the coaching staff have been keeping close tabs on the youngster and are excited about what he could bring to the table, with Greg Taylor holding down the left-back slot in recent seasons. The arrival of a player like Nazinho might indicate a push for more depth or perhaps even a challenge for the starting role. Of course, in the world of football, nothing is ever final until the scarf is held aloft and the ink is dry. But if the talk proves true, Flavio Ninho could well be the next breakout name to don the green and white. Keep your eyes peeled. Hoops faithful, the young wall from Portugal might just be setting up camp at Celtic Park. Hello, fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.